What's up? Welcome in A to Z Sports on a Friday. And Buck, I don't know about you, but I'm super happy that it's Friday. This has been a long week, but welcome in. Zach is out today. Zach became a Super Bowl champion and a 33-year-old on the same day yesterday.
Oh,
and
was it his birthday?
Yesterday, you didn't know it was his birthday?
Oh, bad job out of me. I totally skipped Zach Bingham's birthday yesterday.
Yes, it was Zach's 33rd birthday. He won the Super Bowl in NFL Blitz 2000 with the Tennessee Titans, and then he drove to the beach. So lucky Zach for him. But Buck Rising in for Zach this morning. We're going to have a fun discussion talking about the latest information that could dramatically affect the NFL season. We'll get your confidence level on the NFL season starting on time. Then we'll talk about the coronavirus as it goes along with Colin Kaepernick. We'll touch about Buck touch on the article he wrote yesterday for A to Z Sports Nashville.com. Also the show, the discussion you had last night with A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll do all that. We're going to have a fun show. Then we get to Ain't That Good News. I have two items of good news. Two.
See, nobody has any good news in the middle in the last 3 months. So the idea that you got two things.
One of them's a personal good news, right. And the other one is just like a pure entertainment that I can do on the show before the weekend. That's my two good news this week.
Okay. I look forward to finding that out. Before you, the audience, can find that out, you got to share this show around with your friends. Periscope, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You go ahead and retweet us to your Twitter followers. There's three little dots. Go ahead and smash that and retweet the show. This morning, Facebook Live, it is in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You share now to public. That is how we will invite your Facebook friends to join our conversation this morning about the changes in the NFL, the NFL's future potentially, and what will result and what will come of that as a result. We also welcome in our friends on YouTube and Twitch TV this morning. Be sure to invite your friends on Facebook and Twitch TV. You know Twitch and YouTube users? Let them know we got a show here every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Central Time is when you can hang out with Austin and Zach typically. But this morning you stuck with me, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by TennesseeTickets.com. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Buck Rising in for Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. As Buck just said, Twitch, YouTube,
everywhere,
Instagram,
baby.
Twitter. We're on it. A to Z Sports, wherever you can find us. Also, we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network. We go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make everything happen for you and us. TennesseeTickets.com. If you want to go buy Titans tickets, you absolutely can. And TennesseeTickets.com, the safest place for you to do so, because Titans 20 saves you $20 off your ticket purchase for Titans games. Also, you'll get all your money back if fans are not allowed at the game. So you can't lose. It's a win-win for you. TennesseeTickets.com. Renters Warehouse, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go for their services. Mandu, the pulse of fitness. After all that I ate yesterday, I need more Mandu in my life to simulate 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com. Your first workout is free. And the Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency, TuckerTN.com is where to go to find out how much you can save on your personal insurance. And if you need new floors, CalvinandSettle.com is a place to go in the mid-state. CalvinandSettle.com. Check them out for your hardwood floors and finishing. Buck, we've been talking, pre-show meetings and conversations and all that.
How you feeling this morning, bud?
I feel awful. I feel sluggish. I feel my knees were hurting this morning for some reason.
Your knees?
Yes.
I thought Zach's the one that got older yesterday.
Well, yeah, but I don't know, I had to eat awful food yesterday. And if you missed the Magic Bucket yesterday, which Buck did, I had to eat whatever Zach Bingham told me I had to eat. So he gave me 2 meals, one lunch and one dinner. Then we'll jump into the coronavirus stuff with what Dr. Fauci said yesterday. But he said for lunch, Austin, you have to go to McDonald's and you have to get a Filet-O-Fish combo with a large Coke.
Oh.
And so I did that. Then he said for dinner, you have to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and you have to get one of the famous bowls, which is like popcorn chicken, instant mashed potatoes, and really cheap, bad corn with sprinkled fake cheese on top of it. And then that came with a cookie. So that wasn't too all bad. So I got the cookie at the end, but I had to get a large sweet tea with that. And instead of doing a lunch and dinner, I said, screw this. I want to get it over with. And I did one at noon and one an hour and a half later. And so I basically ate 2,000 calories in an hour and a half. So maybe that's why I feel so freaking bad.
See, now you're lucky that the KFC got rid, and maybe KFC will never sponsor A to Z Sports, but you didn't get the double down.
Well, that's what he tried to get me to eat first, but it's no longer available, which saved me a little bit.
You know why? Because it kills people. The KFC double down actually may stop your heart. And so we are lucky that Austin Stanley is still with us after his junk food foray that Zach Bingham sent him on. Zach eats like that on a regular basis. I don't think he eats. It's a wonder you didn't have to call the plumber, says Teron Davenport this morning on Periscope. Good morning, TD. Who doesn't like to start their Friday with a little bathroom talk?
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
That's how I started my Friday. I mean, it was awful. I will say this. Jokes on Zach back in my college days. I actually like the filet of fish. So the filet of fish was not the worst part. The KFC bowl was just absolutely awful.
Oh,
it was disgusting.
Not only fish from McDonald's, but Middle Tennessee fish, frozen Middle Tennessee fish. What is that? Is that Cumberland catfish that was scraped off the bottom?
I don't. It's probably not even real. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore. The large Coke was honestly the hardest part about the McDonald's. But we move on. Buck, we'll talk about what you put out there yesterday regarding Colin Kaepernick and the Titans later on.
Sure.
But Dr. Fauci had some words that he spoke this week and made the rounds yesterday. Some pretty strong words from Dr. Fauci. He said, quote, he's talking about the NFL. He says, unless players are essentially in a bubble insulated from the community and they are tested nearly every day, it would be very hard to see how football is able to be played this upcoming season. And he was asked about the NFL because the NFL is the least affected right now of the pro sports leagues that with the coronavirus pandemic. What was your initial reaction to when you heard Fauci's quotes yesterday when they started to make the rounds?
Tony's still with us. I haven't seen Anthony Fauci or heard from Anthony Fauci in quite some time. So I was surprised to see him pop up randomly on Thursday like that. Sterling Tilley says he's an idiot who's listening to him anymore. Nobody's listening to him anymore because he was silenced. He got taken off your televisions for a reason because he was disagreeing with the administration. But that's a larger issue that we can save for the political podcast if one ever comes about here on the A to Z Sports Network. No, I think that what Anthony Fauci has been saying has not been perfect, right? We are moving through COVID-19, through the pandemic, with information that changes every day. G-Man on base says he changes the rules every other day. Well, he hasn't been in front of you guys in quite some time. So I understand why your reaction is that. And for a while here recently, people have thought because COVID has kind of started to cool off in a lot of the hot spots, because COVID has started to because people are starting to pay less attention to COVID. In Tennessee, how many people do you see wearing masks on a regular basis? That's the one thing that we know works, and people are just kind of disregarding it. It's honestly a huge indictment of us on the whole, that we just can't follow that one instruction that we definitively know helps stop the spread of COVID-19. But Fauci gets out there and he says this, and I initially had a bad reaction to it because I'm like, holy hell, what happens if they try to put the NFL in a bubble and they ask NFL media to go off to Disney World for 4.5 months like they are with the NBA? I can't do that. I can't leave my home and my life for 4 months to go cover a football season. How the hell could they expect us to do this? But he's saying either play in a bubble or don't play at all. And for me, so far, despite how quick people have been to jump down Tony Fauci's throat, he's kind of been on top of this in a way that the United States as a whole, because testing is more readily available, we have seen the situation kind of scale up across the United States. People are getting tested more and more positive tests are resulting because of that. Those two things are obvious. But what we're worried about, what everybody is worried about, and what Fauci has been talking about is this potential second wave that could come about in the fall should social distancing not be put into place. And if this or not continue to be put into place, and if this continues, I mean, Tony Fauci hasn't been wrong about a lot of stuff. And in a time when nobody knows a lot about this particular disease, he's been the most trustworthy source on all of it. So,
and that's the interesting thing is because Nick Ewing says no one wants to listen to him, and that's why there's been an increase. But then Joe says he misses being at the center of the conversation. And then Brandon says, come on, Buck, don't be silly. He's a freaking fraud.
Oh,
and Frank says,
Brandon, don't be a science denier. Don't be an idiot. Don't deny
Frank says, tell him to kiss my grits, LOL. So you can just kind of set the stage for everybody because you mentioned a few minutes ago that less people are paying attention to coronavirus. I'm one of those. I feel like my brain waves can't take all of the things that are coming at me when it's running the business, having a life. Also with the Black Lives Matter movement, the protest over the last several weeks. Yeah, for me, to be honest, coronavirus has dropped to the wayside for a little bit. So you can set the stage. And as Simpre says, he has been wrong quite a bit. Can you just lay out for us the people like Simpre who say he's wrong? What are the people who are saying he's wrong? What are they specifically saying he's wrong about?
Well, they're saying specifically that he was wrong about the number of deaths that could come to pass. We did exceed 100,000 in the United States about a month ago, but there were higher projections for death totals that he was incorrect about. There has been confusion about what exactly helps stop the spread. The one thing that we have definitively decided on is that the masks, the N95 masks that are being recommended by the government, those are the one way that we know to specifically help contain COVID-19. But there has been a couple different versions of ways to stop the spread of COVID-19 that have been proven to be untrue after the fact, after there has been more time to study the virus. People are pissed because Fauci helped shut down the country, right? People are upset because Tony Fauci helped shut down the American economy, and a lot of people have been put out of their jobs, and a lot of people feel like it's overreactionary, and a lot of people aren't actually affected by the symptoms of COVID-19, whether they test positive or not. And so a lot of people don't believe it to be real. And as Elizabeth George says, masks don't totally stop the spread either. Yes, but it's the one thing we know that helps. So when people say Tony Fauci is wrong about this or that, I say, well, just as the information changes on a daily basis with a disease that nobody knows, that nobody knew about, nobody knew how to handle prior to this, this man is trying to change on the fly and direct a country in this way to make sure that we are all practicing the safety precautions that they are recommending at the time. Now, the safety precautions that have been recommended have changed several times over the course of the last 3 months. So I can understand why people are frustrated. They're tired of hearing about it. They're tired of staying home. They're ready to get outside of their house, and they're tired of social distancing. I get all of that. But the point is, you have to listen to the scientists. The scientists do not have political affiliation.
Right. And as somebody pointed out, I think it was Bobby, as I try to scroll up to find that comment, Bobby says there has to be a reason he was a leading doctor for 4 administrations. I mean, so, and how many different, yes, that's not Republican or Democrat. That's not left or right. That's scientists. And I get that. And with 4 different administrations, how different had those 4 really been? A lot. So I do get that point, and I respect what Dr. Fauci is doing. I'm confused a little bit about how to look forward into what September and October and November might look like, because in early April, everybody was thinking this thing was doomsday, right? I mean, it was going to wipe out so many more people. You were worried about your relatives that were older. You were worried about really going to see anybody. And things
everybody across the country thought they were going to die of COVID-19, the way that it was being handled. And I agree that there has been a lot blown up about it. But it changes literally every single day.
And Bobby, again, Bobby with some smart comments. He says people are getting a firsthand look at how science actually works. It's not just a single magical answer. It's evolving theories. Yes. And like somebody said that Fauci said that it wouldn't hit the U.S. Back in like early February. Well, things change. I mean, like that's the point. And I hate how people. You can even go back to me on Derrick Henry. I was against. I didn't think Derrick Henry was that good in his first couple of years when he wasn't playing that well. Then he started playing really well, and of course, my opinion changes when I get new information. So people look at information and be willing to adapt and don't just be stuck in this. So let's get to our question here, Buck, because I do find this very interesting. And the question is, we're going to do a confidence level. What is your confidence level that the NFL season will start on time? What is your confidence level that the NFL season will start on time? And that's games happening the week after Labor Day, which September 11th or 10th.
12th is the NFL's, is the Texans and Chiefs.
Okay, September 12th is that first game. So what is your confidence level 1 through 10 on the NFL starting on time? But first, let me tell you about Mandu. One thing I do know about Mandu is that this is a safe workout and a safe fitness program during this pandemic because it's only by appointment. Everything gets cleaned in between every appointment. There's only maybe one other person working out next to you and then a trainer, and it's a controlled environment. And it's a 15-minute workout, which saves you a lot of time, but it simulates 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com is where to go. Your first workout is absolutely free. They are back open without restrictions for you, the customer. The only restrictions are on the trainer to wear a mask. But Mandu.com, that's where you should go for your first free workout.
And with all the time that you save with the efficiency of a Mandu workout, you can go and check out the A to Z Sports Podcast Network, where you find every Monday the Big Orange Podcast with Charlie Burris and Zach Reagan. You get my 615 Sessions podcast every Tuesday and Thursday in that same feed. And the Tighten Up podcast every Wednesday comes your way. The Preds Nashcast, when hockey is available to take place. We will see what the future holds for hockey, but rate, review, and subscribe to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network, wherever it is that you get your podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. We got you covered.
Yes. CL Jackson says, happy Juneteenth. Absolutely there. I want to mention that. So the question is, what is your confidence level 1 through 10 in the NFL season starting on time? Jeff Rubel says 7.5. For NFL. He actually says 10 out of 10 for college football, which is interesting. Chuck says high confidence, high confidence they play, but low confidence that there'll be fans in the stands. Dom, I think everybody agrees, hate the time we're living in. Elizabeth says 3.
That
3
it starts on time.
Then it starts on time. Correct. This is that it starts on time, which means that training camp needs to start on time if you're trying to get games to start on time. And training camps would happen mid to late July. There's been some like side reports or discussions at least, or just mentions of maybe some training camps happening earlier in the NFL.
Been summarily shot down by the players yesterday. And so I would not anticipate that being the case.
Correct. So I want to get to some more of your confidence levels. Deborah says a shaky 7, not just a 7, a shaky 7. So is a shaky 7 more like a 6?
Yeah, a shaky 7. Anything that's shaky should not be above a 5, frankly.
Yes. John Michael Presley says 7. G-Man on base says 8, that it starts on time. Let's see. Renaud says 4. Players are popping positive left and right, not looking good. Alex
Zeke Elliott, the least surprising COVID-19 carrier of all time. We all knew that man.
But I also do have to respect Ezekiel Elliott for handling it the proper way. Because the story about that is he thought he came in contact with somebody who had it. So he himself responsibly went and got tested and then realized that he did have it, even though he was asymptomatic, right?
You know why he knew that he came in contact with somebody who was carrying COVID-19?
Because he was
going to parties at Dak Prescott's house like an idiot. Zeke Elliott, stay out of the parties. Zeke Elliott, stop flying people in because you're bored and you have nothing to do in the middle of a global pandemic. Zeke Elliott, dirty.
Yeah.
Anybody who tries to boob scoop a cheerleader at a what parade did he get in trouble for? Where he was drinking on top of the fire truck and he went and he essentially fondled a woman.
It was some like holiday. I don't know.
Filthy Zeke Elliott.
So Buck, what is your confidence level 1 through 10 that the NFL season starts on time?
4. I will say a 4. I will say a 4 based on the information that I am hearing from specifically the Titans organization with the people that I talk to on a regular basis. I would say, given the new information, again, Dr. Tony Fauci, whatever you feel about him, whether you think it's political or not, it's not. Please try and remember that. Science is not political.
Right.
Based on the things that Tony Fauci said yesterday, the conversations that I've had specifically with the Titans or with people in the Titans organization and friends around the league, 4 is my confidence level for the NFL season actually taking place on September 12th, actually beginning on September 12th. Now, there are a variety of reasons for this. One, we're just finding out how many guys, even when they've not been allowed in the facility, even just working out together, like you've seen so many people doing, working out in team facilities, working out with their own trainers in groups of 10 or 12, whatever the case may be. You are seeing a greater number of positive tests. Now, the NFL during this 6-week vacation that the league is currently on, they'll come up with a plan in place and they'll decide what the threshold is for the number of positive tests that an NFL team has to be responsible for or has to have in their building before they say, okay, we gotta cool off. We gotta figure out some way to handle this. This is the time when they will figure that out. But as we sit here today on June the 19th, I'm about a 4 for the NFL starting on time. I can't see it.
So obviously you've been talking to more people about this than I have that have ties with the NFL or the Titans. But the more, as you were talking, I was starting to think, I feel like once NFL players and NBA players, NHL players, baseball players, if they ever figure that stuff out, but once these athletes get to their facility, wherever that facility might be, I feel like once that happens and they survive the testing for the next few weeks after they get there, I feel pretty confident that everything's going to be okay, right? Because when you're there, everybody's being tested. Everything's trying to be as controlled as possible when it comes to cleanliness and sanitization, that'll be okay. But the hardest thing is when these 6 weeks, when you've got players doing whatever the hell they want to do, now they're more at risk for actually getting the virus, but are they going to be tested? And so I feel like the hardest part to start on time is getting the players to the facility, testing them, then seeing what those results are and how that delays or how that impacts the start of practices. Because if, let's say the Titans, for example, they get their 90-man roster to the facility, right? And they have nobody test positive once they get to the facility and for the first week of their camp, right? That gives me a lot of confidence that the Titans are going to be okay. But if you get a couple guys who maybe traveled or did whatever during the first couple weeks of July or July 4th, who show up July 25th and they test positive, now that really starts to snowball and things start to get delayed because, okay, now you've got 5 players on this team who have to quarantine. Did they affect any of their other players before they knew they tested positive? And how does that continue to grow? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. And I think the date that you mentioned there, specifically July 4th, that's going to give us a very good indication of what exactly a large gathering will look like and what will be the results of a large gathering. Now, about 3 weeks after peaceful protests and riots across the country started, we have seen kind of the effects. And again, it goes along with the increased testing. I understand that there is increased testing, and so the increased testing is leading to more positive results. I'm not denying that it's just because of this event. I'm not saying it's just because of this event or that event that more people are testing positive. But we've had about 3 weeks since these protests and riots across the country began, in a way that people just in a way that we were so singularly focused as a society on COVID-19. Seems that we completely forgot about it once after the George Floyd murder and everything started to devolve from there across the United States. I look at this and I say July 4th is going to be the best indication that we have that live sporting events can take place. Because here in Nashville, as we sit here on June the 19th, they are planning to have the fireworks downtown on the Nashville riverfront. At this point, come Monday, we will officially be in phase 3 of the 4-phase Tennessee pledge, the thing that Governor Bill Lee put into place to reopen the state. We will have been in the 3rd stage of that. Stage 4 is when they will begin to consider, not immediately allow, but begin to consider sporting events and concerts for the public at large. So once we get past July 4th and we have an idea of what that will do, when we see what the results of that are a couple weeks after the fact, I think that will give us a better indication. But at this point, there's so many hoops that they have to jump through. I mean, the testing for them alone is going to be a disaster. You saw John Harbaugh saying that the NFL's rules that have been put into place for the league facilities are humanly impossible, and that's one of the more progressive coaches.
Well, it's because locker rooms are not set up to be distanced. Locker rooms
are disgusting.
Yes, well, yeah, I mean they are.
Locker rooms are disgusting. I spend way too much of my time around giant naked men for a living. These locker rooms are literal cesspools for germs.
Right. And there's no way to really change that because that's what it's designed for. It's designed to have everything in this one little space. So it'll be interesting for sure. A to Z Sports here live on a Friday. Jeff brings up, imagine right before the season opener, a quarter of the starters on every NFL team or on a 14-day quarantine.
Disaster.
That sounds like an absolute worst case scenario that a quarter of NFL starters all have COVID-19.
Well, I think a quarter of NFL rosters might be more likely, but starters is,
what is that like? What is it like 12 to 15 people on every team? That's not because what's the percentage of tests that come back positive? I don't know that, but the percentage of tests that come back positive are not 25%, right?
No, it's not that high.
So that's what we're talking about, where I don't think you'll get a quarter of the NFL roster or a quarter of the starters to be able to test positive just because the numbers and the ratios are not working out like that.
A couple more of your comments here on A to Z Sports this morning. Filling in for Zach Bingham with my good friend Austin Stanley. Siempre says, I'm around to 8. Strong 8 says, Guy, 2 out of 10 if they plan on having fans. Fans are out of the conversation at this point. I really think that based on the information, again, based on the information yesterday, it could change. It's very likely to change, and we will see these things evolve. But based on the information that we received yesterday, I would operate under the assumption that there will not be fans for the start of the NFL season. Maybe that evolves as things get more comfortable and get more, there are more things that they are able to discern. It will start because the NFL thinks it's invincible. Then numerous players will test positive, depleting rosters, season will be suspended, and then eventually canceled. Nick Ewing out here invoking the doomsday scenario where an NFL season isn't finished. I can't imagine that to be the case. Titans for Life is more on the pessimistic side, saying a 3-1. The season will not start on time from Brent Matlock on Facebook. Johnny Lee's in an 8. Too many people in the football bubble, says Titans for Life. Yeah, the football bubble is so much bigger than the NHL, than the NBA, than the MLS, all of this. There are 53 players on an active roster. There's, at this time, 10 players on a practice squad. They're talking about expanding that to 16. Yeah. Yesterday, I saw that floated just because they're going to need more bodies because people are going to get sick, which is a moral issue but that we could spend more time on another day.
And the staffs are bigger.
The staffs are huge
with football, not just coaching staff, but support staff, training staff, because you need more people with the more players that you have. All right, A to Z Sports. Let's transition because the coronavirus is still going to be a discussion here. But Buck wrote an article, 4 reasons why the Titans are a good fit for Colin Kaepernick to bring him in for a workout. So we'll discuss what Buck feels, how Buck thinks about the Colin Kaepernick situation, and really how coronavirus is now a main hurdle for Colin Kaepernick in getting an NFL job this year. Yeah, but first, let me tell you guys about the Tucker Agency. if you are needing to save some money, which, hey, we're all needing to save some money, TuckerTN.com is where to go. The Tucker Agency and Will Tucker do a great job. They save their customers an average of 20% on their personal insurance when they become new customers. So TuckerTN.com, or email Will at TuckerTN.com, Will at TuckerTN.com, to say, hey, A to Z Sports sent me. I heard you guys on the show. I need some help saving some money on my car insurance, my life insurance, my rental insurance, whatever it might be, whatever insurance you have. Will Tucker and the Tucker Agency can help you out. Just send them an email, will at TuckerTN.com.
And after you save some money with the Tucker Agency, you can head over and perhaps spend a little of that extra scratch at the A to Z store. Shop.atozsportsnashville.com. I had a few people on Primetime asking me where they could get some swag, baseball caps. We've got very, very comfortable T-shirts that we actually just sent a few to our friends at 3HL. So everybody wants to rock the A to Z comfy tee. Those blue ones are great. You can save 30% off all of your orders at shop.atozsportsnashville.com with the promo code AZ30. That's AZ30 there at the A to Z Sports Shop. I cannot recommend enough they kind of look like vintage tees. The ones that we have. I love my blue one. I spend entirely too much time in it because it's probably one of the softest shirts I own. I love that shirt.
Exactly. And I've actually worn A to Z shirts. This is Friday. This is the first day this week that I have not. So that shows you exactly what I do with my wardrobe. Okay, guys. All right. So, Buck, quickly, 4 reasons why Colin Kaepernick would be a fit for the Tennessee Titans right now.
4 reasons why. First and foremost, he's better than Cole McDonald or Logan Woodside. Logan, you cannot sit there and be a box score scout with Logan Woodside or Cole McDonald because neither of them have played a single NFL snap in their career outside of the preseason with Logan Woodside. Cap being 3 years removed from the league is a concern, but talent-wise, he is still substantially better than the 2 players that you have currently on your roster. He fits the offensive system. You like a lot of movement from the quarterback position. The engine of the Titans offense is Derrick Henry. The key to starting the engine is Ryan Tannehill. Colin Kaepernick's skill set fits very, very well with what the Titans like to do based on motion, based on play action, and based on chunk plays downfield. That's when we saw the best version of Colin Kaepernick with Greg Roman. Thirdly, because us media slaps aren't going to have access to these guys. So if you wanted to keep stuff under wraps, like a Colin Kaepernick, limit it to Zoom calls, even with Fox News and CNN and all of these other news outlets that would be coming in, because make no mistake, this would be national news should it happen. You can limit the access in a way this year that you will not be able to limit the access in any other normal year. And frankly, fourth, because it represents the actual kind of change that they're talking about. When we look to John Robinson and Mike Vrabel and Amy Adams-Strunk, when they're talking about leadership and wanting to be united against systemic racism, against the oppression of African Americans in this country, against police brutality, this would represent true leadership because it's the one thing that nobody is willing to do at this point, and decide to even work out Colin Kaepernick more than anybody has done in quite some time.
Well, yeah, and that's what Brandon says, bring him in for a workout, but what if the backlash, what would the backlash be if they didn't sign him because they don't feel he's an improvement over whoever's on the roster? Cities would burn. Yeah. And Brandon's not, I mean, cities would burn, but Brandon's not wrong.
We're seeing cities burn right now. I really, and I gave you 4 reasons why, right? I also think there's 4 reasons why you should not do it.
Absolutely.
I think there are plenty of reasons against it. I think that there are very real both sides of the argument. The first and foremost being how far removed he is from football. The second and the biggest one is that you drop this guy into a locker room where he's a kind of cult hero figure, for lack of a better term, to a lot of these athletes who are in their mid-20s,
early to mid-20s,
early to mid-20s. AJ Brown and Corey Davis and the young, impressionable black players on this roster, a lot of them look at Colin Kaepernick as a legitimate icon for change in this country. How does that affect the dynamic in the locker room?
Because think about this. What year was it? What year was it when Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers went to the Super Bowl?
2012.
2012. That was
Yeah.
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
8 years ago. A.J. Brown.
Should have won that game too.
Yeah. A.J. Brown was probably in middle school.
Yes.
Or about to start high school, maybe a freshman in high school.
He would have been in high school because I was a sophomore in college.
Okay, so yeah, so again, that's just 8 years. So it's been a long time, right? So
Yeah.
you've got, and then you brought up the news media, not just us sports media, but the news media would be all over the place. So I understand those, but I think honestly, the biggest thing not the biggest thing, but now a new hurdle for Colin Kaepernick to get a job is literally the coronavirus.
Yeah.
How can you bring him in for a workout? Because you have to work him out, because he tried to have a workout and that just blew up in everybody's face. And the Titans were involved in that process of going to the workout to see him a year or so ago. But you don't know if this guy can actually play.
We don't.
And because 3 years, like we saw what happened to Le'Veon Bell, taking 1 year off, and took him some time to get back in. 3 years of no football is a long time. And I believe Colin Kaepernick could probably go out there in shorts and a t-shirt and cleats and throw routes versus air and look phenomenal, because that's probably what he's going to be able to do. But how can you truly get a workout on this guy who hasn't played in 3 years with the coronavirus going on, where the head coaches and the trainers haven't seen their own guys in months?
Yeah.
And so the coronavirus is making another new hurdle for Colin Kaepernick, keeping him from probably getting a job, because Anthony Lynn of the Chargers mentioned that he's on their workout list and he should be on every team's workout list. That's great. And we don't know how many teams have him on their workout list, but right now they can't do anything with that workout list because of the coronavirus.
Well, and we know that there were 7, and Teron Davenport of ESPN, kind enough to hang out with us this morning. TD says that, let me find the comment quickly. I'm sorry, I lost it. They're scrolling actually pretty quickly. Josh Johnson, 2.5 years removed from professional football, came back for the Washington team and gave the Titans hell in 2000.
He did. Yes,
Absolutely, he did. That's a great point by Teron. And Josh Johnson is not nearly the talent level of Colin Kaepernick. Now, that's one very specific example, and I think it varies case by case. But Teron's point is well taken. They did not go silently in that Washington team with Adrian Peterson, even though they were terrible. Adrian Peterson put it on the Titans, and so did Josh Johnson. He gave it a hard time. It's a very well-made point. More of your comments before we move on about the idea that Colin Kaepernick. Well, what is the question that we are asking?
Tyree says I'm using COVID is still an excuse. Like, what do you like? You have to work out to anybody. Like Cam Newton's not signed right now because you don't know how healthy the guy is, and because he probably wants a starting job, and there's not even starting jobs available.
Right, and we are operating under the assumption that Colin Kaepernick would be willing to take a backup job in the NFL. That is not something previously and now there has been a lot of red tape around this, right? John Elway is saying that they offered him a contract when they really didn't. He turned down a contract renegotiation in a trade that fell through with the 49ers. That's John Elway. That kind of misinformation muddies the waters with this kind of stuff. But I do think in a year where normal free agents, and he is, let's be perfectly clear, he is not a normal free agent. This guy represents something much, much bigger to the NFL and to society at large. But in a year when guys are having a hard time as normal free agents who have just been recently removed from football, like Cam Newton, Blake Bortles, all of these other names that you look at, and they're not that impressive when you look at the quarterback
D-Man
list.
says there are better free agent quarterbacks available. We all know that.
There's two maybe.
Maybe. And Blake Bortles is a maybe.
Blake Bortles, I don't think Blake Bortles.
I feel like Blake Bortles is a waste of time and money.
Oof,
I would rather the Titans spend effort in trying to groom and develop Logan Woodside than go waste a couple $1 million on Blake Bortles.
Agreed. I think that it's a failing proposition unless you're just going to run them the whole time, because that's what Blake Bortles does.
You're just going to smash your head against the concrete wall.
Cam Newton. Well, what does TD call him? The double agent. Cam Newton will not back up anywhere. I don't know what people don't understand about that, and I think that's a totally Fair argument. I don't think Cam should take a backup job, but for the same reason that we're talking about COVID-19 complicating the Kaepernick situation, it's complicating everybody's situation, because what NFL teams are doing is they're sticking with the safe option. They're sticking with what they know. And the Titans, perfect example, Logan Woodside and Cole McDonald.
Yes.
What?
Frank
team that is built to win the Super Bowl right now, Logan Woodside and Cole McDonald.
And I thought, before I get to Frank's comment, I thought you started your article yesterday great with saying the Titans have invested, or last season in 2019, invested highly in the backup quarterback position. And it saved their ass. Big time saved their ass with Ryan Tannehill. So much they gave him $91 million over the next 3 years. Now they have zero invested really in the backup quarterback job, with a 7th-round pick in Cole McDonald, who has a lot of development to do with his overall technique and throwing motion. Then you've got Logan Woodside, who they might love inside the building, and that's fine. But the guy, we have not seen him play anything outside of the AAF that was there for like a month and a half. So what are you going to do? Like, if Ryan Tannehill goes down, which has happened several times in his career, then now you're stuck in a year where the championship window is open. You're stuck with a guy who's never thrown an NFL pass in a regular season, whether it's Cole McDonald or Logan Woodside. That's bad, right?
Well,
that's bad preparation.
And I think that Cole McDonald, I don't think much of the skill set of Logan Woodside, outside of that he understands their offense and he's been here physically longer than any of the other options. I think Cole McDonald has a lot of promising attributes should he be able to refine his throwing motion. But even just as an athletic option, as an additional piece that you can use, if you can justify him on the roster, then he can get out on the field, and his athleticism can be used to add an extra dynamic to your offense, which is why I think Kaepernick, Cam Newton, or otherwise should be considered. But also, Austin, we are forgetting the long-term picture of this thing for the same reason that you're talking about investing in the backup quarterback. An investment in backup quarterback now is hugely important for the future of every NFL team, because when they expand to 17 regular season games, the playoffs, in theory, are supposed to expand this year. You're going to be playing more football games. Bodies are going to break down more. An investment in a backup quarterback, a good backup quarterback, a solid, reliable backup quarterback, is going to be at a premium because the bodies are going to break down more. Tannehill's increased risk for staying healthy only gets worse should he be asked to play an additional game, as it does for every player on an NFL roster. An investment now in a solid backup quarterback option is not just for 2020, it's for the future sustainability of every team.
Yeah, Michael says, I think Cole McDonald's going to be a stud in the preseason, maybe. That's my thought on that.
Tyree said on the expanded practice squad.
Perhaps. Yes. Tyree says, there's absolutely no excuse to not work Colin Kaepernick out, to not work him out at this point. To not work him out at this point, you can't because of COVID, but that's no excuse to not say you will work him out or not, or not to work him out at all. You can miss. I don't know what the hell that end of that comment was, but I get your point
with that. He's saying you can. Yeah, man. This is like the last time when Tehran was in the comments and we had to educate you on the lingo. To box means to fight, to feud, and to miss someone with a comment means
I was trying to. It's hard to read other people's words. It is, because I'm trying to read his words without reading them before. And
I'm gonna have to give Austin an Urban Dictionary lesson after.
But again, yes, I think Colin Kaepernick absolutely deserves an opportunity to work out, because that's the first step, is to work him out, to find out if he can still play after not playing for 3 years. That's step one. But currently COVID is in the way, so you have to wait in order to get that step one. And right now, this is the most talk about Kaepernick we've had in a year or so.
Well, and think about it this way, because G-Man is saying I could be a preseason stud. Logan Woodside was a preseason stud, and we know how rarely
Mettenberger led the NFL in passing yards in the preseason his rookie year. 0-10.
It's awful. 0-10. That's such an indictment of Zach Mettenberger. My
Now
God.
that team was those rosters were like if you the next time you're in the Titans facility, Buck, which I don't know when that's going to be, but you know all the plaques of team photos on the wall, right? Go find those Zach Mettenberger 10, those 2 years, the two Ken Whisenhunt years. You just go look at the rosters, and it's just like, oh God, scrub. Like Sean Green was a starting running back. Like it was just so bad, just awful.
Rob Damastis says he can work out in a mask. Percentage chance of Titans working out Cap, says G-Man on base. And here's what I'll say to you. Keep in mind.
Pause on that because I want to get your thoughts, your full thoughts on what you think about the Titans, the percentage of that question was just asked. What percentage do you think the Titans will work out Colin Kaepernick? But first, let me tell you guys about Calvin and Settle. CalvinandSettle.com is where to go. You've been spending a lot of time at home, which means you've been doing a lot of damage to those floors, a lot of beating up your hardwood floors or whatever else you have.
Breaks my heart to see how much damage I've done to my hardwood floors.
Exactly. So if you need new floors, new hardwood floors and finishings, CalvinandSettle.com is where to go. They do a great job. They take care of you. They make sure it's safe. CalvinandSettle.com is where to go.
And after you go to Calvin and Settle, before I make a point that I'm very happy that I get to make, you should go to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network, rate, review, and subscribe to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on SoundCloud, wherever it is that you get your podcast. We have 4 great pods available for you. The Big Orange Podcast on Mondays, My 615 Sessions Podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, Tighten Up Podcast on Wednesday with Austin Huff and Jack Gentry, who are starting Tighten Up Trivia here in the coming days. So that'll be exciting. Another feature for the A to Z Sports Army and the Preds Nashcast whenever it is exactly that hockey resumes here on A to Z Sports. We got a lot of content out there for you in the network. Before, and I don't want this to derail our conversation because I want to get to the percentage chance that the Titans actually work out Colin Kaepernick. I need them to work before they work out Colin Kaepernick, before they work out anybody. I need them to work out Darren Bates again because I miss him. I miss him so very much. And I'm looking at my Twitter timeline right now at DB_5 God, I miss Darren Bates. It says I get in the gym early, so my music play the whole time. Hashtag DJ Who Pooted. Bring him back to the Titans locker room. I need that man in my life.
Yes. All right. So G-Man on base asked the question, Buck, what percentage chance the Titans work out Colin Kaepernick?
I would say
we're talking working him out. Just work out, not sign. Just work him out.
I would say under 20%. I would say under 20%. I really do think that the thing John Robinson and Mike Vrabel hate the most, John Robinson more than Mike Vrabel hate the most, but both of them, I think that they really dislike the idea of additional attention. And I think that this is it's not about the political leanings of Tennessee. It's not about their quarterback situation. I think under 20% that they actually bring him in for a workout. Now you can decide why that is. I will say, though, that the Titans were one of the 7 teams to not only attend the workout that the NFL helped him set up that kind of fell apart and then ultimately was held at a high school, I believe outside of Atlanta. The Titans were one of those teams. They showed interest in Colin Kaepernick and then, understandably, left that without offering him a contract. Now, they didn't need to at the time that they went and attended that workout, but they are one of the 7 teams that has previously shown interest in Colin Kaepernick. That's honestly why I put it at as high as 20%.
Interesting. So Titans for Life says, I also think they want to give Woodside a shot. How do you feel about that comment? Because
I think that they save a ton of money by giving Woodside a shot. I don't think that's an actual football decision. I think that's a salary cap situation.
Well, but if you're talking about Colin Kaepernick, like in the backup quarterback market, we've seen Jameis and Andy Dalton go for basically nothing for backup quarterback jobs. I think Jameis was like 1.1 mil and Dalton was just over 2 with incentives to get him up to 3. So like that backup quarterback job money is not what it was even a couple of years ago. Marcus Mariota get a lot more than anybody else.
Well, his contract is structured so if he becomes the starter, he can get paid like a starter. Like
Correct.
That's not a great one to base. The
Right. But you've got Jameis maybe is right. Is
Jameis might have lost more money for himself than anybody in professional football. Is he making $1 million?
1.1.
Woo!
That's it.
Woo!
That's it from the Saints.
So bad.
He went from his 5th year option, where he was making, I think, north of $21 million last year,
Correct,
to making $1 million.
Dom says saying he's a horrible fit for the locker room is so shallow and, quite frankly, an unintelligent thing to say. Who's saying that, Dom?
I don't know who's saying that.
I don't think he's talking about us. I think somebody might have made that comment. And you're right. That is unintelligent. I do think as we talked about early, I do think it represents an issue in a locker room. I think that you create issues with his presence in the locker room for the same reasons that we talked about, because a lot of people have a tremendous amount of respect, myself included. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Colin Kaepernick. Kevin Tubbs says he's trash. Kevin Tubbs, you don't know. And I almost said a bad word.
And I saw Kevin had a comment earlier. Kevin is talking about him as a quarterback.
Oh,
because I saw Kevin commenting, it's not just he's saying Kaepernick as a person is trash.
Okay, and Kevin, and fair, Kevin. Also,
I think there is you have to know the difference.
You're right, because I would have said something hateful, and I don't want to attack Kevin that way if that's not warranted. So that's my bad, Kevin, if I jumped on you too early. What I will say about the level of play that we last saw from Colin Kaepernick, because people forget. People are very quick to remember the idea that he got benched for Blaine Gabbert. And if anybody should be wary of a guy who got benched for Blaine Gabbert, it should be Titans fans.
It should be the Titans coaching staff.
Yes. They know exactly what it is like to live that life. And let me tell you, you guys know it is an unpleasant experience. And I love Blaine Gabbert personally. Blaine Gabbert is a really enjoyable person to talk to. Also not an enjoyable quarterback to watch. But, Austin, do you remember who made the decision to bench Colin Kaepernick for Blaine Gabbert? Do you recall?
Oh man, what's his name? Jim Tomsula?
No, that was right after Harbaugh. Who came after Jim Tomsula?
Oh, Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly, who gets off so clean in all of these discussions because Chip Kelly is the person whose judgment we are relying upon to tell us that Colin Kaepernick is not as good a quarterback as Blaine Gabbert. Get the hell out of here with Chip Kelly, 4-12, UCLA, all of this garbage that this man has been run out of the league for. Chip Kelly should not have been the one to make that decision, and that gets forgotten in that conversation. Chip Kelly helped make Colin Kaepernick's play decrease. Absolutely.
I so wish Florida hired Chip Kelly.
Oh, God. He is a disaster. And not only is he a disaster, he's a pompous ass. Like Chip Kelly thought he was so much smarter than everybody with his milk, with his protein smoothies and his high tempo or up tempo offense that ended up ruining his defense.
What's wrong with protein smoothies?
Not with the way that he was citing like the protein smoothies as like holier than that. It's like kind of when people started saying, "Oh, there's a big analytics movement," when analytics has been a part of football for years at this point. Chip Kelly thought he was doing something special with these protein smoothies that Deshaun Jackson, it's like, outside of Deshaun Jackson calling him a racist, which is a different conversation for another day.
That was Sean McCoy.
So that was both of them.
Which Eagle Pro Bowler called him racist? I don't know. Several. Not Riley Cooper. All right, A to Z Sports here live. Let's get to this. Let's get to our end of show. End of week. It's Friday. Oh my gosh, it's Friday. End of show topic. Ain't that good news? Jeff Rubel said earlier in the show that he's got great news that he wanted to share at the end. So hopefully Jeff Rubel gets his good news in there.
Indeed.
What is your good news? I have 2 items of good news. One of them is personal. One of them is just for our own entertainment. So ain't that good news to send us to the weekend? But first, I'm going to tell you about renterswarehouse.com. Great news. There are so many ways that renterswarehouse.com can help you during these times. If you're moving, don't have to sell your house. You can keep that house and really make a lot of mailbox money and build equity in that home down the road by renting it out to others. And renterswarehouse.com can do all of that for you for a low monthly flat rate. There's no binding contracts, no upfront costs. That's it. And renterswarehouse.com can also help you out if you own Airbnbs and they've been empty for the last 3.5 months. You can temporarily rent out your Airbnbs to Renters Warehouse. They will take that for you and make it easy. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go.
And with those increased revenue streams, you can head right over to the A to Z Sports shop and spend a little of that extra scratch at shop.atozsportsnashville.com. You can save yourself 30% off. Just out here wheeling and dealing, the fine folks at the A to Z Sports shop. AZ30 saves you 30% off on all of our A to Z Sports swag, which I will personally vouch for, not just because that's where my paycheck comes from, but that's because I love the clothes that they have. I love the comfort of the clothes that
you can see it in the picture. Just they look comfortable.
You can see the material.
Looking at that image, you're like, dang, those are comfy t-shirts.
It's a very low-key, laid-back comfort tee. And that's what we all want on a Friday. We just want something that's going to comfort us. So head to shop.atozsportsnashville.com. Save yourself 30% off with AZ30.
All right, what's your good news? Ain't that good news on a Friday? Jeff Rubel's good news is Boise State versus Oklahoma tonight in the national championship. He's sending out his Twitch. So Jeff Rubel's out here pumping his own Twitch and his own NCAA football. I will say over 150,000 people watched Coach Doug's win a national championship last night with Tennessee beating Miami in a game, Buck. I know you didn't watch it, but literally 0 punts, 0 stops until the very end of the game when Miami threw a Hail Mary. They got intercepted. There was either the field goal happened on the opening drive for Miami, and then every drive after that ended in a touchdown.
That's so obscene. Well, and think about it this way, because Coach Doug's won a national title for the University of Tennessee last night. Zach Bingham won a title for the Tennessee Titans
Super Bowl
yesterday morning. And the Nashville Predators, broadcast on Fox Sports Tennessee, won the Stanley Cup.
Did they really?
Titles for the state of Tennessee virtually yesterday. A great victory for the esports community here.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
My God. Your hair is what we would all, the three of us would look like.
Could you imagine, Buck? No, we can't.
No, I can't.
We can't imagine
what
that would be. Like,
that's the closest to Zach Bingham cocaine eyes I've ever seen you get. You look like legitimately distraught.
If the Titans, the Vols won the Super Bowl and the college football playoff, and then the Preds followed up with the damn Stanley Cup, this city, I don't even know what I don't even know what to say.
It's like sports heroin. Just inject it right into my neck. Right into my neck.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. But can we get the Woody 901's comment?
What did Woody say?
We were talking about which Eagles Pro Bowler called Chip Kelly a racist. He says, not Riley Cooper.
No, that was my comment. I said that. You just didn't hear it. I said that.
Oh, my God. I missed it completely.
I said Riley Cooper just kept on moving like it didn't happen.
Oh, why did you should have made sure. Oh, that's
no, because everybody who got it thought it was freaking hilarious, and I just moved on.
Oh,
yeah, that was a great joke. It was a great.
You did not get enough credit. Well done by you.
Well, thank you. Okay,
not Riley Cooper.
So I've got good news. I've got two things of good news. The first good news is literally just a tweet that I saw. I gotta find it now because my buddy Dwight quote tweeted it, and it's a tweet from Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so you have to read this tweet in Arnold Schwarzenegger voice, and it makes sense because it's about the coronavirus. So Arnold Schwarzenegger last night tweeted this. It's talking about Californians are now required to wear face coverings in public spaces. This is what Arnold Schwarzenegger quote tweeted.
Arnold.
This is 100% the right move. This will help us beat this terrible virus. The science is unanimous. If we all wear masks, we slow down the spread and we can reopen safely. It's not a political issue. Anyone making it a political issue is an absolute moron who can't read.
I didn't know you did a fake Arnold. That's so good. Listen, if that doesn't get you through your Friday, man, you got something wrong with you. Well done. by Austin. Austin came into this show dragging ass. He was like, I don't think I got it today. I don't got the energy today. I feel like a whole KFC burrito bowl or whatever the hell it is Zach made you eat last night. My friend, you have had a strong show. Well done.
Oh, man. I read that this morning and I could not stop laughing about how perfectly Arnold that entire tweet
You read it in his voice. It's so good.
Yes. All right, Buck. What is your good news?
Well, let me read a few of the comments before we get to my good news. Johnny Lee says, good news moving to phase 3 on Monday. Yes, Music City, Nashville, Davidson County. Phase 3, closer to the reopening of the state, which we all hope continues to progress safely. And again, hope all of you are safe and well out there. This is Feel Good Friday, says TD. Predators won the virtual cup. Hang another banner, says Tommy. That's really good. Well done. I haven't. So I figured out how to show the comments. There we go. Tommy, Predators won the virtual cup. Hang another banner. Well done. Zach Goodman says he's got his beach trip planned out. Zach Goodman and Zach Bingham out here beaching it over the weekend. More of your good news here on the Predator says he practiced that voice on the toilet this morning.
No comment. No comment.
Outstanding. Kevin Tubbs says I'll be in Nashville next Friday. That's my good news. Indeed. A lot of good news out here on a Friday. My good news is much like Zach Goodman and Zach Bingham, and that is your boy is on vacation. As soon as we wrap up our A to Z responsibilities today, I am so out of words to say. I am so tired. I love all of you. I love my job. I love being able to cover sports for a living. I also am very, very much looking forward to not having to talk for a full week or 10 days or however long I'm out of here for. So good news, vacation for your boy starts pretty damn soon.
Yes, real soon. We got a meeting this afternoon, and then promptly you've got 3HL after that, and then bang. So not as soon as you thought, maybe. I saw that look in your eye. You're like, damn it, I still have things to do. All right. My good news to send us all the weekend. Happy 6th first date anniversary to my lovely wife, Jennifer. Buck, we had a conversation on your podcast probably a month or so ago about you and your girlfriend's first dating anniversary. Well, guess what? We're coming up on 2 years of marriage. And yes, happy 6th dating anniversary to my wife. Very excited about that on a Friday. So we get to celebrate properly.
Yes, happy date-iversary to you and your lovely wife Jenny. That's a very we had the conversation about which anniversaries are to be celebrated, but that's a big one. 6 years.
Yeah, six because it's just we're not quite to 2 wedding yet.
Yeah.
So 2 wedding comes up next month, and then we'll see what happens.
Johnny Lee says, happy anniversary to you too, Austin. Tom Malinsky wants to know you're going to be talking on Twitter, Buck. I am so good. Do you have the Twitter talk function? Not everybody got that. I
haven't even tried.
Okay, well, I'm going to absolutely abuse the talking on Twitter function. I gave it a run yesterday, and 2,500 of you listened to me spouting off Wednesday or Thursday morning thoughts from the comfort of my bed. So yes, I will probably be talking on Twitter over vacation.
Kevin asks, what's the podcast info? A to Z Sports Podcast Network. Just check out that wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, which I think Spotify is the best place to go these days.
I think it is too.
Yeah, but right there, A to Z Sports Podcast Network is where to go for that. Then you can get our live show turned podcast version just by searching A to Z Sports. So you get both of them. But check out that podcast network. Great stuff each and every week from you guys. All right, Buck, appreciate you filling in for Zach. We'll see what happens over the weekend. Hope you have a good week off of shows. I know you're going to be working around the house, which is exciting to get all that stuff done. Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you later.
Peace and love.